Hey everybody, thanks for joining me again today on Clearing the Benches. Today we're going to be doing our prediction edition. Let's get right to it. On the first one we've got in our MVP list, you got Matthews, McDavid, Rantanen, Shesterkin. Now you're going to have to start putting Jack Hughes on that list as well. You look at all of these guys, Matthews this year, you could be, same with McDavid, could be scoring 70 goals, could be looking at 150 plus points. The way the league has evolved and the way the points are being scored, you're almost getting back to the Gretzky era. Gretzky, people don't remember, had 212 points in a year. So last year when McDavid put up 150 and people were kind of losing their minds, puts it in perspective. But again, these kids are putting up huge numbers nowadays, and it would not surprise me in the least if one of them were to score 70 goals, 160 points. You look at Colorado, you got the Moose out there, Rantanen. He put up his 50 goals last year. They fell short in the playoffs. They ran up against Seattle. But in terms of his regular season, he put up huge numbers. And if he were to put up 60 goals this year, maybe 60 assists, 120 points, would not surprise me in the least. And again, you got guys like Makar on that team. Makar's going to score a bunch of goals too. He's already got a goal one game in. And you look at him, he wants to have a bounce back season. He wants to let everybody know that last year was a fluke for the Avalanche and this year they're moving forward. I got to pick one of these guys out of this list right here. I'm going to say it's going to be Austin Matthews. I was not really a big fan of his when he first came in the league. His attitude and all that Justin Bieber stuff kind of just rubbed me the wrong way. But when you start looking at the guy's numbers up close and you see that he's blocked more shots than any other forward in the league last year, the amount of shots he takes, the amount of ice time, his 5-on-5 numbers are good. I got to say, I think this year is going to be the year. It's going to be Austin Matthews wins the MVP. Let's go down over to the next one. It's going to be the Calder Trophy. This is going to be another awesome race all year long. You're going to see guys' names coming in and out of this list all year long. Obviously you're going to start it off with the big two names. You got Bedard and Cooley. I think it could be neck and neck from, I know that Bedard's already got a goal and an assist and Cooley hasn't played yet, but the way Cooley plays, he could score 2 points in one shift. So other guys that I've got on the list here for this, the Rookie of the Year, Fantilli in Columbus. The kid's going to be good. Yeah, Columbus is going to be terrible, but he's going to be good. Maybe, the team holds him back. But then again, maybe the kid gets some time somehow with power play specialists. You got Johnny Hockey over there. You got Laine. Laine's a 40-goal scorer if he can get his head straight. Johnny Hockey, same thing. These guys should be able to feed Fantilli left and right. And, Fantilli should be able to feed them as well. And, to me, it should just work out, but it's just not going to be this year. I love Fantilli's game, and I think he's a great 200-foot player. But I think there's some other names on this list. The next one I'm going to go to is one nobody talks about, Zach Benson. I just saw this kid play a couple of games, and holy cow, can he skate. He is one of those little, comes up behind you, pickpockets you. By the time you realize that you don't have the puck anymore, you turn around and he's 20 feet in the other direction, and you're not going to catch him once he gets that little burst of speed. I got to say, he just reminds me, I live in Arizona. I watch a lot of Coyotes games, even with the mouthpiece sticking out of his mouth. This kid, down to wearing number 9, reminds me of Clayton Keller. Watch Clayton Keller tonight against the Devils and then take a look at Zach Benson from last night. You see a lot of similarities in this kid's game. And if this kid's going to be anything near what Keller's going to become, and I think Keller's going to become a 100-point-a-year guy, I think Zach Benson's going to have an awesome NHL career. Finally, on that Calder list, his teammate, Devin Levi. If all of these guys on offense were to light it up and Buffalo wins 45, 50 games, maybe Devin Levi's winning 35 or 40 of those games. Maybe he's got a, save percentage around 907, 910, somewhere in there. And maybe he's got a GAA under 3. That would be enough that a guy like him could win the Calder. You look, and it's not all based on offensive numbers. Now you're starting to see goalies that are putting up video game type numbers with the amount of saves and the crazy saves that they make. Devin Levi could be on that list. If I had to pick one of these kids, going out on a limb, I know he's a local kid, but I'm taking Cooley. I saw the kid play up close, and there's something about him. He's got an electricity about him that he just looks like every time he's on the ice, he's going to score a goal. Let's go over next to the Norris Trophy. Huge names on this list as well. Carlson, McCarr, Fox, Yossi, Hedman, and I'm going to throw Charlie McAvoy into the mix on this one here. I'm going to start off with McAvoy. You know, all the other guys on the Bruins get a lot of attention. You never really hear about McAvoy. They mention him, you know, a little here and there when they're talking about the defensemen. But, you know, for years and years and years, it was just, you know, Bergeron, Krejci, Pastrnak, Marchand, and then they would go, oh, yeah, and they got, you know, McAvoy on defense. McAvoy's a guy, he grew up in Long Beach, New York. You know, as a kid, we didn't like going out to Long Island because that's where all the tough kids played. And when you went out to Long Island, you played a hockey game and you were 12 years old, chances are you could get beat up in that game. So Charlie McAvoy grew up in that environment, and I look at him as a guy, he always plays a gritty game. He's not really a big points numbers guy, but in terms of his overall defensive game, and guys don't want to play against him, to me, he's way up on this list. You know, you're going to have offensive guys. You know, to me, Carlson's all offense. You know, his skating ability lets him play D, and he gets some sticks on some pucks. But in terms of, I think he's going to have a drop-off this year. I know he's going to a better team, but I think there's going to be less scoring situations for him. He's not going to be on the penalty, the power play, the 5-on-5, every opportunity, you know, he's not going to be out there for. So I think he's going to have a drop-off, you know, and I say that. I think he's going to go down to like 60 points. McCarr, if he's back and healthy, which it looks like he is, McCarr's a guy I think could go, you know, 20 goals, 60 assists. He could have 80 points. And I think also with McCarr, 5-on-5 is a big thing that he wants to improve on. I think he wants to have great 5-on-5 numbers and not just be known as like a specialist type of guy. But, you know, as far as the little engine that could, oh, he is definitely it. You know, he stirs the pot in Colorado. He feeds all of those scorers up there, and he makes sure that they all get the puck distributed when they need it, and usually that's right when they're about to score a goal. So next on the list, I've got Roman Josi. You know, Predators are going to be in for a long year this year, but I think Yossi's just going to continue to be his usual self. The guy is a great player. He's somebody who, you know, I know to NHLers, he doesn't fly under the radar, but to the average hockey person, they probably don't really know much about him. I love Yossi's game. The guy never gives up on a play. His attention to detail is just tremendous, and I think he chips in with the scoring here and there, and I don't really think that they look for him too much for the scoring. I think, you know, I don't know where Nashville is going to be scoring goals this year, but I don't think that they're thinking it's going to all come from the back end like him, you know, where somewhere in like Colorado, like McCarr is expected to have, you know, significant points from the back end. And then you got another guy on the list, Victor Hedman. You got to throw Hedman in the list every year. Guy's just a tremendous hockey player overall. I know his skills are starting to decline. I know Tampa is not the powerhouse that they were 3 or 4 years ago, but still Victor Hedman has got insane skills, and I just see a guy like him always being able to score a slap shot from the point. He's always going to break up a 2-on-1, you know, and nothing for nothing. If a fight breaks out, the guy's 6'7", you don't want him getting you in a headlock. If I had to pick one of these guys, I gotta say I'm going with McCarr. I think McCarr is going to be healthy this year, and I think he's going to put up incredible numbers, and I think Colorado is going to be down in there for the Final Four at the end of the year. Okay, moving on to the next list, we've got the Vezina Trophy. Big names on this one. Lots of Russians: Shesterkin, Sorokin, Vasilevsky. Then, you know, I've got Saros in here. And again, I'm going to throw the kid Devin Levi in here. You know, we don't know that TNT and these guys aren't all going to explode and have huge years. And maybe, you know, Devin Levi is, you know, 42, 12, and 3. We don't know. You know, and look at Buffalo, and this is the year that if they're going to do it, this should be the year. I know that they didn't play too well last night against the Rangers. You know, Rangers got a lot of firepower, and it was just the first game of the year. But I think if they put up a lot of wins, Devin Levi is going to be a big part of that, and he should get some consideration for the Vezina. Shesterkin on the Rangers. You know, I don't want to say it's a lot of easy wins, but that should be 20 wins that you really don't have to, like, you know, do more than break a sweat to get those 20 wins. Sorokin out on the island. I think they're in no man's land out there. I love this kid. I think he plays with all his heart. I think he wants to win every game, just like they all do. But something about the Islanders, it just seems like they're kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. It doesn't seem like both tracks are, the wheels are on the tracks, what I'm trying to say. It seems like they're just kind of like, I don't know, in and out, floating around out there. And I think they've gotten a little bit old. I think they held on to some guys too long. And I think this year you could see a drop off. And I don't even think the Islanders are going to be in a playoff race. And I think that could mean a guy like Sorokin, even though he could be a 42 game winner in Toronto, I think he's going to win around 20-25 games this year. Vasilevsky, he's starting off on the DL, but it doesn't matter now. Those games don't count. Those games count in April, May, and June, and that's when Vasilevsky usually putting on his best suit. So if I had to pick one of these guys to win it all, I gotta say, I'm a Ranger fan, and I know they got a lot of firepower, but I think after last year's debacle, they're going to try to clean it up this year. I think they're going to really try to make it harder for the opponents to get more shots on goal. So I'm going to go ahead and pick Shesterkin to win the Vezina. The Rocket Richard, most goals. Again, you got huge names on this list. Matthews, McDavid, Tage Thompson, Ovechkin, Rantanen, Jack Hughes. Braden Point scored 51 goals last year. I don't know why, maybe not to win the cup, but I got a feeling I think Austin Matthews this year is just going to have a huge, huge year. I just get the feeling that he wants it so bad, and I just get the feeling that he's going to will his team, and you got so much talent on that team. And even if they were to deal a guy like Nylander, you could get an incredible return for him. That who's to say that, maybe they don't get a goalie in return. Maybe, you traded Nylander for Hellebuck, and they threw in a first rounder with Nylander to get Hellebuck. Now you got Hellebuck going into the playoffs. That could be some serious action. But as far as getting back to it, Matthews is going to score like crazy this year. McDavid, I don't know if he's going to have the numbers that he had last year. McDavid is always capable of scoring 70 goals. Every time the guy gets the puck, he can skate it in and out of everybody, and he can go all the way down and make the goalie look like an idiot. But this year, I feel like they're going to try to concentrate more on D. They're sorry on the back end. First game of the year, you gave up 8 goals to Vancouver. And, it's not like it was the 92 Penguins, or the 70s Canadians. This was just an average team that just went out there and put up 8 goals. And, I know Stuart Skinner got all the action and talk and the hype last year. I don't know. I scratched my head like I am now. I just don't see it. And when I see a guy like him, I think to myself, how many goals can the guy really score? You look at something like that and you just think to yourself, at what point do they start playing defensive? And they got to say, listen, it doesn't matter how many goals you score. We got to start keeping the puck out of the net. Tage Thompson, Buffalo, another guy. When you see this guy in person up close, he has got some skill level with that puck in traffic. He has got that puck in his feet, and there's 3 guys around him, and somehow he's got the ability to use his body to block guys off, fend guys off, put an arm out, keep a guy at bay. And he gets by guys with the puck all the time. The sky's the limit for him. If Dylan Cousins comes around and they start, really racking it up, Skinner, Tuck, you got lots of guys on that team that know where the net is. And Thompson is definitely one of them. And after the year that he had last year, again, these are like video game numbers. But if somebody were to tell me one of these guys were going to put up 60, 70 goals this year, would not surprise me in the least. Next up, Ovechkin. Listen, we all know he's chasing Gretzky. He's got 72 to go. In my mind, I look at it as he's probably 2.25 years away from passing Gretzky. This year, I think Washington's in for a big decline, and I think, unfortunately, Ovechkin's going to not be the benefactor he usually is. I think he's still going to be getting all those one-time passes, but I think a lot of teams are going to be clogging that lane in front of him. You're already starting to see teams getting wise to that. And also, too, the guy's really never been injured. He's 36 years old. He throws the body around. People don't realize it. He's 6'3", 235 pounds. That's like 15 pounds less than an NFL linebacker. When a guy like him's throwing his body around, as much damage as he's doing to the other guy, you also absorb a lot of that. And over the years, you look up Ovechkin's hits numbers. I mean, into the thousands since he's been in the NHL. The guy can dish it out. I think he's going to slow down, though, this year as far as goal scoring. And I just, maybe 30, 35 is where he's going to top out at. And that's just, me basing that all on that. I think Washington's getting a little long in the tooth. Rantanen put up, 52, 54 last year. Just the prototypical power forward, a guy with big-time skill, stick handling ability, skating ability, and a balance. Like, you know, it doesn't come along very often. You know, you try to knock him off the puck, and more often than not, you're going to be on your back before he is. So when you see a guy like Rantanen coming down the slot with the puck, holy cow. I mean, the goalie's probably saying his prayers, because, you know, the guy's got deadly accuracy. He's got a great shot. He's got a heavy shot too. So to see Rantanen, and again, you know, you look at the guys, you know, McKinnon, McCarr, all of these guys, if they were getting healthy, and somebody were to say to me, Rantanen scored 65 goals this year, would not shock me. And then finally on that list, the aforementioned Jack Hughes. Being a Ranger fan, it kills me that this kid is so good. He scored his first ever goal against Henrik Lundqvist, and he smoked Lundqvist when he scored that goal. He scored 99 points last year. He's obviously, you know, the lineage, the family lineage, you know, him, his brothers. He's got the kid brother coming in now. Jesper Bratt. You look at guys like Mercer. You know, now Sharon Govich all of a sudden is, you know, starting to find his way. I look at a guy like Jack Hughes, and if somebody said to me, Jack Hughes scored 60 goals and 60 assists this year, would not surprise me at all. And I think another thing you got to watch out for Jack Hughes is penalty killing. I think when they throw him out there, he's sneaky fast, and I don't think guys expect to see him out there. You know, you're not going to be out there blocking too many shots on the penalty kill, but he's a guy that if he steals that puck from you at the blue line, he's off to the races. Your goalie's got no chance. He's going to smoke them. If I had to pick amongst all of these guys, say who's going to score most goals, Rocket Richard Trophy, I hate to say it, but I think I'm going with Matthews. I think this is a Matthews kind of year. You know, I think he's going to score 60, 65, possibly even 70 goals. Hell, if somebody told me he scored 75 goals, wouldn't surprise me. So as far as the Rocket Richard, I'm giving it to Matthews. And then finally on the list, I've got the Jack Adams Award going to the best coach. I think this one, you got to beat the champ to be the champ. And I think Cassidy out in Vegas is a great coach. I did not see, when he left Boston, I did not see this coming. I thought he was just, you know, one of those guys who was just, you know, kind of rolling the balls out like Pat Riley used to. And, you know, not Pat Riley, Phil Jackson used to. And, you know, the team just did what it had to do by itself. He didn't really need to do a whole lot. And then he gets to, you know, Vegas, and you got a whole new, you know, thing. They just came off. They got bounced out of the playoffs the year before, or actually they missed the playoffs the year before. And now all of a sudden he not only gets them right back in it, but he takes them and they win the cup. I mean, and when you look at the guy, all of the decisions that he made behind the bench last year, he never seemed like he let his emotions get the better of him. He never seemed like he put out like goon lines to, like, you know, if somebody got a piece of Eichel, he never seemed like he was playing like retribution hockey. He just seemed like he was always playing like to win hockey. Again, I think Vegas is going to be in the Final Four this year, and I got them as coming out of the West as my favorite. Another guy that I got on my list here is Peter Laviolette. I think Laviolette's on a one-year PTO with the Rangers. It's going to be do or die. I think it's going to be cup or bust. If they don't win the cup, I think Laviolette's liable to just tell the Rangers, eat the rest of my contract, do what you want. I'm taking a year off, then I'll go work for TNT. I'll sit up there with Messier and Chelios and whoever else and just, you know, call the games and make just, you know, almost just as much money doing that as he is behind the bench. I just really don't see him sticking around. I think if it doesn't work out for this year with the Rangers, it'll never work out. And I think they'll probably wind up sending another letter to the fans in a couple of years telling them, hey, we're going to blow this thing up again and give it a shot. Hopefully that's not the case, as I am a Ranger fan, but for sure, this is do or die year. And when you got teams like the Canes, the Devils, Toronto, Tampa, those are all thorns in the Ranger side that they've always had a problem getting by in the past. And after what happened last year to the Devils, I just don't see it. Next on that list, speaking of the Devils, Lindy Ruff. The guy goes 0-2 last year, and they're chanting fire Ruff. Then, you know, a 99-game winning streak later, and they want to put a bronze statue out in front of the Prudential Center for Ruff. The guy was a good coach in New York. He was an assistant coach. The problem was they had him, I think, in charge of the power play, and the power play was terrible. You know, but then again, the guy who was coaching the Penguins, Sullivan, he was the coach of the Rangers power play the year before. The Rangers let him go, and then he went on to win 2 cups like 2 years later. So when you see the Rangers let a guy go, you know, you should probably jump on him. It's a good thing, and they don't know what they're letting go. Lindy Ruff is a good coach. Guy was a gritty player, puts out a gritty team. I think he just tells his team what he expects of them and he lets them go. I don't think he's a controlling guy in the locker room. I don't think he's a screamer. I don't think he's one of those guys that tries to rub you the wrong way. I don't think he's looking at your phones like Babcock, or, I don't think he's like, trying to get into your personal life. I think he's just one of those guys who's going to say, this is what you do best, go out and do it. Lindy Ruff, to me, definitely a good coach. And I think in the end, he's going to be on the short list. Another name I've got on here, Todd McClellan of the LA Kings. Robitaille and Blake have done a good job putting together a good roster out there. I did not expect what they did last year when they did that push. And then I look at the, moves that they made in the off season. I like them bringing in Pierre Dubois, but not so much Cam Talbot. Man, Cam Talbot looked terrible in that first game. And as a Ranger fan, I kind of saw the demise of Cam Talbot years ago. And then, he went on, where was it, Edmonton? He didn't do so great over there. I look at Minnesota. He didn't do so great there. Ottawa, I don't know. I just look at a guy like him and I just think he could be the one thing that holds him back. And then you're going to have all of this effort out of guys like Doughty and Kopitar and Dubois and Fiala and some of these kids that they have coming up. And, Kempe scored 40 goals last year. And you're going to waste all that because of a goalie. I think McClellan is a smart enough coach that he knows they're not going to win with this. I know that Robitaille and Rob Blake, I think they're smart enough to know that they're not going to win with this. Again, you talk about a team like should be in the Hellebuck sweepstakes. Hell, you give up, one of your young kids and then you give up, a draft pick, maybe a number 1, and you can squeak them out of there. And finally on the list, I have the Avs coach, Bednar. I think this guy's an excellent coach. Another guy, I think he just goes in there, says his piece, tells the team what he expects out of them, and he lets them go. He doesn't over-control. He doesn't go in there and scream. And whenever you see the guy, he always seems like he's got the right thing to say. He seems like he's always got a positive attitude. And, in the long run, he's already got a cup. And that's the type of guy that, he knows how to win, and he's probably going to stick to that formula. So if I had to pick one of these, this is a tough one. I got to say, my short list would be Cassidy, Ruff, and Bednar. And then, shortening that down, I would say Ruff, Cassidy. But if I had to pick one, I'm going to say this could be Lindy Ruff's year. I know Cassidy's the champ, but I think this year could be the year for Lindy Ruff. So anyway, that's going to be all for today's edition, our prediction edition. I really want to thank everybody for tuning in to Clearing the Benches. And as always, let them know you're out there.